24 years ago tomorrow, September 11th, 2001, a day to never be forgotten. Nearly a quarter century removed from that horrific day, the pain still lingers for the families and friends of the nearly 3,000 people who lost their lives as a result of the attacks carried out by radical Islamic suicide terrorists from al-Qaeda.
And overall, the attacks on 9/11 triggering a seismic shift, if you will, in the U.S. regarding counterterrorism efforts and really overall foreign policy. Also, a massive restructuring of security measures and protocols throughout the country to ensure that we never, ever see another attack on that scale of what we've seen 24 years ago. Again, the development of DHS right after the Department of Homeland Security after this attack.
With that, it's our pleasure to welcome in Scott Munro, the president of the NYPD Detectives Union. Scott, welcome, and thanks for coming on. You know, once a year, we all kind of take a moment to pause and think about where we were on September 11th. We understand you were actually there and you saw it.
I was there.
Can you take us back to that?
It was a terrible day. We were actually effecting an arrest in Brooklyn, and we found out what was going on, and we went over to ground zero at that time.
Yeah, we're taking a look at some of the pictures now of the rubble, and the cleanup itself is a whole different story. But when you look at pictures of the first responders that had that rushed to ground zero at that time, and I assuming you are one of those. Can you reflect on that for those viewers? I mean, for our viewers, there are people out there now, but it's been 24 years. They weren't even born, or they were very young. They didn't live through 9/11. It's important that we never forget. Take us back, at least your experience, if you could share that with our viewers.
You know, when we responded there, all the police officers, we lost 23 New York City police officers there that day. It was terrible. No one knew anything, nothing. We weren't set up for anything like this. This was something that was never seen here before. It was mayhem, you know, and all we saw was people running out, running all over, buildings shaking around. As the day went on, there were still buildings around ground zero that was shaking, that they asked us to stay out of, but everybody was still there trying to rescue people. We'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, so many brave men, right, who are rushing to the scene, trying to help out and assist. But Scott, the loss tied to 9/11 actually continues to this day, with first responders suffering from 9/11 related illnesses. This year alone, 39 members of the New York Fire Department losing their lives as a result of those lingering illnesses sparked by their rescue efforts. They're going to be honored tomorrow. What does that recognition mean to families?
I think it's very important to the families. You know, every day, 9/11 is never forgotten. Every day in the Detectives Endowment Association, we have 154 detectives pass away from 9/11 illnesses, okay? I still have 39 of them right now are not confirmed yet. But every day, whether there's a street renaming or there's a memorial, we remember our detectives. And you know, it's hard. So 9/11 is never forgotten. Even though this is a very rough week for a lot of us, you know, it's never forgotten.
No, absolutely, and some of the, you recall some of the images of President Bush with the bullhorn down there at ground zero, I believe the very next evening or that day, surveying the catastrophic damage, which we're taking a look here, and Mayor Giuliani dubbed America's mayor from this moment. Throwing out the first pitch of the Yankees game, I remember that, and strike right down the middle, and it just really, it gave you hope for this nation. And it was a time that united all of us as this country is so divided politically speaking. President Trump is going to be at the Yankees game. He's not throwing any pitches, at least that I know of, but he is attending the Yankees game on 9/11. What does that mean to have the president, obviously he native New Yorker, but coming here, but obviously getting involved with local sports and the Yanks?
Not just local sports. I mean, he's here to remember the people that we lost here. You know, we're here to support the President of the United States, and he's here to support us. You know, what we go through every day here in New York City.
Yeah, it's incredible to know you've got the backing from the White House, right? For those who passed away, that their legacies aren't forgotten and that they're acknowledged. And obviously, we know the lasting impact of the terror attack on 9/11. Of course, it changed how we travel, right? If
Yes.
you're boarding an airplane, you got to go through TSA. You got to, move your liquids out of your bags and set restrictions there. Are we safer today than we were then? I mean, is New York City secure in ways to combat any sort of person who would wish to do harm?
Yes, I think we're in a safer place. We have counterterrorism now. We had it then there too, but we have different agencies out there. Even as a police officer with training, you're always looking, you're always seeing what's going on. Maybe back then that wasn't something that we were doing, but now you're always on alert. You're always looking around, whether you're on the subway or you're walking down the street. You're always on alert.
Just final thoughts, and we'll close up chatting with you here. But I just wanted to ask, what would you want folks at home to take away from this, and remembering the first responders, NYPD, FDNY, and so on and so forth? What is something that you want them to take away as we reflect from 24 years ago?
They should know that the police are always here to protect, and they should believe in us. And I wish a lot more of these politicians would believe in the police. It's very important that they know that it shouldn't be a tragedy. There shouldn't be a tragedy to believe in police, because everything around 9/11 was about first responders and what they did. Well, they should remember what they've done in the past, and we still continue to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should do it every day, tomorrow especially. We will take note of that here with special coverage on National Report. Scott Munro, thanks so much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.